Hello everybody and welcome to this month's Ask the Video Guys. I am your host today, Adam Noyce. I am a video production specialist here from Video Guys. So let's actually just get started. These are questions that we get asked from our customers, from people all the time, asking tech support and stuff like that. So we decided to turn it into a show, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to answer all those questions. Of course, you can find us. You can always email us at sales@videoguys.com and ask your questions. Just put in the just say ask the video guys in there. We'll definitely reply to you. We're very good about that. You can also find us on YouTube at Video Guys. You can also find us on Facebook at videoguys.com, and you can also find us on Twitter at Video Guys. We like to keep our branding consistent here. You can always do that anytime. One of us will certainly be answering you. So the first question that we actually have today is from Terry. He emailed us and he asked, my Facebook setting for the LiveU Solo has stopped working. Is there a way to still stream to Facebook with our LiveU Solo? Well, Terry, the answer is yes, there absolutely is. It's called RTMP. You can make a custom RTMP setting within, or preset within your LiveU Solo's user interface. We actually did an entire show about RTMP and where you can find your stuff, or where you can find the codes on Facebook, where to paste them within the LiveU Solo interface. And instead of me just rambling on and doing that, we actually are going to play that clip right now. So Jim, go ahead and play the clip. So first thing you're going to want to do is want to go to facebook.com/live/producer. That's going to take you to this page. There's two places where you can go live. You can create a live video event, or you can go live immediately. That end of things ultimately looks the same. So that's why we're going to choose go live now. And you're going to be greeted by this page. But anyways, as you can see, this is where your stream key is. And if you hit advanced settings and scroll down, you'll find your server URL.
How can I stream custom RTMP with my LiveU Solo? And here's my LiveU Solo portal at solo.liveu.tv. You can see I've got a couple solos in here. And at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a plus sign that says set destination. We're going to click on that. And here are all of the modules. They had the foresight to include generic RTMP, which we're looking at right here. If you scroll, you will find it. And if I click on that, and we see create a new destination, but you're going to take your stream key, and we will copy that, and we'll bring it over to LiveU Solo, and we'll put that under stream name, which is what Solo calls it, and we'll grab our stream URL, and we'll place that under primary URL. And right, just like that, we're ready to go live.
So that's how you do it. That's how you put in your RTMP information into the LiveU Solo. That will fix your problem. That absolutely means that you can go live to Facebook with your LiveU Solo. That will always fix it. And the good news is that the LiveU Solo likes to remember the last place that you stream to when it comes to RTMP, so you're not always constantly having to copy and paste all of those codes over and over and over and over and over again. The other thing too you will discover with RTMP is that you know one process, you tend to know them all. So let's say the YouTube module stops working because of a YouTube update. You can now grab the YouTube RTMP information and put that into your LiveU Solo as well. We've done a full webinar on that. The link to it will definitely be in the blog post. The blog post usually goes up on our social media about a day after everything's done processing and everything like that. Definitely check that out. It's certainly one of the best webinars that we've done, and it's certainly one of the most requested webinars that we've done. So let's move on to the next question. So Amanda called and she asked us, we are using VMix to mix our show, but want to use the LiveU Solo to send our feed to YouTube. Would I just take the output from VMix and send it to the LiveU Solo? The answer is yes, Amanda. That's exactly what you do, and it's actually a very simple process. What you do is you take the output from VMix and plug it into your LiveU Solo via HDMI, and now not only is it picking up the picture, it is also picking up the audio, because that's the nature of HDMI. HDMI can do both. It is literally that simple. And you really can't get any simpler than that, because the LiveU Solo can also provide the internet that you need to actually stream. That's the point of an encoder. And yeah, you just plug it in via HDMI. That's all you need. Plain and simple. Moving on. Jacob on Facebook asks, I have a USB camera in our conference room, but I want to bring in other cameras and create a better production. What can I use to make them all work together? So basically, you have a bunch of HDMI cameras, you want to add another camera, or vice versa, and you still want to use a webcam that you have previously. I've run into a few examples of that in schools. That's actually quite common because, you know, budgets are always a thing. The solution is this little guy right here. It is the Tau 1 Tiny from RGB Link. This is basically a USB to HDMI converter. So a lot of these converters that we have here at Video Guys, they are HDMI to USB. This does the opposite for the workflows in which this man is discussing about. So it can take that webcam input and transcode it to HDMI. So you can now plug it into an HDMI mixer, an HDMI switcher, anything like that. It's also got extremely low power consumption. It's powered via a standard USB-C port, and it also supports USB Bluetooth controls. Now here's a good workflow of what you're talking about. The Tau 1 Tiny with USB webcam workflow. So what you would do is you would plug your two cameras, as you see, via HDMI into a product like the RGB Link Mini. You plug them in via HDMI, and then you can take your webcam, which is always via USB, plug that into the Tau 1 Tiny, and then take the Tau 1 Tiny and plug it into your RGB Link Mini or your video mixer. It doesn't have to be the RGB Link Mini, but we recommend that one, via HDMI. So you plug it in via HDMI. Now you have that third camera. You don't necessarily need to spend the thousands of dollars on a new camera. You can just use the webcam that you already have. There's also another workflow that's very interesting with the Tau 1 Tiny, and that is it basically lets you take, or especially with the RGB Link Mini, it lets you do two things at once. So you have all your HDMI ins, what about your outputs? So what's cool about the RGB Link Mini is that it comes by default with a USB output. So you can plug it into your computer and essentially bring the mix from your RGB Link like a webcam. So you can bring in the Zoom, Teams, stuff like that. Perfect for video conferencing solutions. Now with the Tau 1 Tiny, you can now plug in, you can now use, basically have another monitor for you. You can have a confidence monitor. So now you can know exactly what you're cutting to, and you can even set the HDMI out to either be program out or multi-view, so you can see all your inputs. So essentially, you're going to expand your workflow and make it easier for whoever is sitting behind the desk actually mixing your production. Maybe it's you, I don't know. But it's going to just make your life easier. So again, one is going into your encoder or a monitor via HDMI. The other one, you can use the Tau 1 Tiny to convert that USB signal to HDMI and hook it up into another monitor. So Omar asked us via email, I have a BirdDog P100. Is it compatible with BirdDog's latest auto-tracking firmware update? Yes, one of the bigger announcements to come from BirdDog. The answer is yes, it is. It is absolutely compatible. It is a free firmware update, and all of their PTZ cameras are now compatible with their auto-tracking system. Now, to be clear, it's not so much what's in the camera, the firmware allows it. It is a software solution, and that's CamControl. It's a CamControl app. Now, again, it's just a free firmware update, but you do have to install CamControl. We actually did a video about the process in which you have to go through. In our case, we did a P100. So if we play that clip, that'd be great. That goes through it all.
Please note, you will need to carry out this process using a Windows PC. Start by visiting bird-dog.tv/features/firmware-update. Step 1. First, you must update your camera's baseboard. For this step, you will need a USB-A to USB cable. Within the Step 1 folder, open the application shown on screen. Under Device List, select UVC C-C Cam. Click on the firmware button and then navigate back to your Step 1 folder to select the bin file. Now select Update. Step 2. Now you must perform the MCU update on your camera. Power your P100 with the supplied power cable. Navigate to your Step 2 folder inside your firmware zip file. Take the bin file and copy it to an empty USB FAT32 formatted flash drive. Take this USB and insert it into your P100, Then remove all power from your camera. Wait 10 seconds and power your camera back up. Once your camera has completed its update, it will pan left to right. After this, you may power down, remove your USB, and power the camera up with its usual cable configuration. Step 3. Now it is time to upgrade your camera's NDI firmware. Make sure your camera is powered up via Power over Ethernet and connected to your network. Then head to the Web UI. Within the Web UI, navigate to System menu. Click Choose File. From here, navigate to your Step 3 folder and select the .fw file. Click Update. Your camera is now fully updated. Downloading CamControl. Now go to bird-dog.tv, select Download Now to download and install BirdDog's free CamControl software.
So, that's how you do it. I know that was a lot of information just being kind of thrown at you. That video is available in full on our YouTube channel at Video Guys. I do recommend that you go there and that you do check it out. A link will also be provided in our blog post, and I once again will reiterate that our blog post usually goes up a day after our actual webinars, so we let everything process and everything like that and make sure all the information on it is absolutely correct. I highly recommend that you check that out. But yes, you can absolutely do what you want to do. Now, moving on to the next question. John, he gave us a call and he asked, is my NDI HX camera upgradable to NDI HX3? Yes, NDI HX3, the new kid on the block. So before we get into that, I want to actually explain what NDI HX is for people who don't know what it is. There's essentially two versions of NDI out there. There is full NDI and then NDI HX. Full NDI it's a higher bandwidth is required, it has lower latency as a result because of that, and also it can take higher frame rates and higher resolutions. NDI HX, on the other hand, it's lower bandwidth. So lower bandwidth is required. It's usually about 1/10 of a full NDI camera or full NDI system. It also has a higher latency as a result, though. It's about 8 times slower than a full NDI, And it also has slightly lower resolution because there's a little more compression on there. But it also allows for more NDI devices to be put onto a slower network. If you have a slower network, NDI HX is the way to go. Though we do recommend for if you're doing sports, full NDI is the way to go because it has less latency. So what exactly is NDI HX3? Well, NDI HX3 basically gives the option to deliver low latency transmission while reducing the bandwidth. And it also maintains the high lossless standards that NDI users actually demand. So basically it'll let you make a broadcast quality video, gives you broadcast quality video in just about any setting, just about anywhere. And all you have to do is just upgrade your equipment instead of needing to update your equipment without necessarily needing to buy a bunch of new equipment. So to answer your question, is your camera upgradable? Well, as of right now, NDI HX3, the first camera to offer NDI HX3 is NewTek's PTZ3 PTZ camera. And as of right now, that is the first camera that is capable of doing it. Now, if you have another NDI HX PTZ camera, such as one from PTZ Optics or BirdDog, well, I have the full response right here, actually, and I'm going to read that verbatim just so there is no confusion. Let's actually take NewTek's actual response here. Whether a camera will support NDI HX3 is based on the capabilities of the camera hardware. The commercial decision to include or offer upgrades is up to the camera vendor. So to claim NDI HX3 support, it must conform with the latest usage implementation guides, example source naming, etc. It is visually lossless, has end-to-end latency with studio monitor less than 100 milliseconds, and a vendor implements an HX implementation as follows. The GOP length, it has a GOP length of 1 or 2, bandwidth at level where it is visually lossless with the HDMI and SDI output. That's usually normally about 80 megabits per second. And they can place their video compressor in a low latency mode. What does that all mean? So essentially, your camera's hardware must be actually fast enough to handle NDI HX3. and the manufacturer must submit it for review in order to see if it's compatible with NDI HX3 or if it meets the standards of NDI HX3. So I have a prediction here with that. And again, this is not gospel. This is just my prediction. But I think what's going to happen is we're going to see new cameras come out that are automatically NDI HX3 compatible before we start necessarily seeing older PTZ cameras that now have an NDI HX3 firmware upgrade. Now again, that's just a prediction. That's not gospel. You can still use your regular NDI HX cameras just fine. That's not going away. That tech is there. It's going to stay there. But that's just my prediction. Don't take that as gospel. I'm curious to see where this goes. I really am. I'm curious to see where this goes. It is, I like to say it's a new kid on the block in terms of the new NDI upgrades. So we'll see what happens. So moving on. So Susan called and she asked, I'm setting up a live video streaming studio in our school. What minimum upload speed is needed to live stream at 1080p 60 frames per second? Well, Susan, I'm going to give you props right now for knowing what upload speed is. Before I really get to answer this question for anyone who's a layman on this, which is most of us, let's face it, a lot of times when you're getting a network, the first thing you see in terms of speeds is your download speed. When you're streaming, that's not really the important number to look at. The important number to look at is your upload speed. So we're actually going to go over some of the upload speed recommendations because they do differ depending on where you go. We're going to look at YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Vimeo, and Boxcast. Now, I recommend usually about 15 megabits per second upload speed for optimal live streaming at 1080p 60 frames per second. However, according to Restream.io, you can actually get away with 5.6 megabits per second and 7.4 megabits per second. Now we're actually going to get into the number that YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Vimeo, and Boxcast actually give, and we're going to base ourselves off of that. Because you also want to remember that upload speeds always fluctuate, especially if you're on Wi-Fi. They fluctuate. Depends on how many devices are on that and stuff like that. It's always fluctuating. So remember to test your speeds. Know your speeds. And there's a great place where you can do that at www.speedtest.net. That is a perfect place to find out what you have. And I'm actually going to demo that right here to show you just how quick it is. So you go to speedtest.net. You're going to be brought to this channel here. And all you have to do is hit go. It's going to start analyzing your network. And it's going to show you there's my download speed. Pretty good, pretty good. It's going to run through that and make sure that you have the proper numbers. And again, I'm on Wi-Fi here, so our numbers are actually faster than this. But we're on Wi-Fi. There's a lot of devices on the Wi-Fi here. And now we're going to go to upload speed. All right. And as you can see, we well meet those requirements. We well meet those requirements to stream at 1080p 60 frames per second. But this is a great place to go. This is a great resource to have to get a report on what your download speed is and most importantly, what your upload speed is. So that's just a good resource to have. So let's actually go on to what YouTube recommends. Now, YouTube recommends that at 1080p 60 frames per second that you have at least 12 megabits per second upload speed. And again, that's at 1080p 60 frames per second. Now this whole chart I'm not going to get into. This whole chart will be available on our blog post after today's show. It will be posted probably sometime early tomorrow morning. So you can actually see what specs that you have and stuff like that. Like, do you have to go down to 720p? That's perfectly fine. We'll have these specs available for you as well. Now, Facebook Live, you'll see at 1080p 60 frames per second, they're recommending 4.5 to 9 megabits per second. I'm going to say this right now from experience. After all, we stream to Facebook here every Tuesday. Go with the 9. Go with the 9 megabits per second. That's what you're going to want. Anything below that, I notice you start getting stuttering. You start getting that latency problem. And you start getting either dropped frames or you start getting stuttering. Go with the 9. And that's what I'm going to recommend here. And that's what I'm going to say going forward. As for Vimeo, which is also becoming a popular streaming service, they recommend at 1080p 5 megabits per second. Now, there's a reason why it's a bit lower than the others. There's a caveat to all this. And that's because, and this is straight from Vimeo, all live streams are transcoded at 30 frames per second. All right? So when you're streaming to Vimeo, it's going to downgrade your frames per second to 30, which usually doesn't affect you heavily, but if you're in a sports environment, that's a big deal. However, if you send a stream at 60 frames per second, the archived video that will be there for viewing later will be transcoded back to 60 frames per second. All right? So remember that when you're streaming to Vimeo, it's going to downgrade your stream automatically to 30 frames per second. But when you're done, it'll be 60 frames per second after it's done processing. Now let's go talk about Boxcast, an up-and-coming great CDN that I've used several times now. They recommend at 1080p 60 frames per second using their standard RTMP settings, which is what I use, that you usually have a target bit rate of 12 megabits per second. That's what you can get away with, is 12. Seeing a common thread here. I said 15. The minimum these guys are giving are 12. A lot of them are 12 or 9. So close to that 15. But that's what they recommend. Now, if you're using Boxcaster Pro, which is another part of Boxcast, you'll need also 12 megabits per second. So you have a couple options there. 12 is the number, seems to be the magic number here. So you're going to want to aim higher. These are the minimum specs. Remember that. Anything below that, you might start losing frames. You might start getting buffering issues. You start running into problems. These are the minimum. So to summarize this whole bit, because that was a lot of numbers, I understand. If you're streaming to YouTube live at 1080p 60 frames per second, that's the standard that we're using, you want 12 megabits per second. For Facebook Live, you want 9 megabits per second. For Vimeo, you're going to want 5, but you're going to be transcoded down to 30 frames per second. That's just how Vimeo works. In Boxcast, you're also going to want 12 megabits per second, which is why, again, I recommend 15. 15, you can't go wrong with 15. Now, let's say you're on a network where that isn't really possible. You know, your upload speed is just ridiculously slow or just doesn't meet the requirements. Well, that goes back into the first question that we had on this episode of Ask the Video Guys. The LiveU Solo is a great possible solution and workaround for that with its cellular bonding. You have the Solo Connect kits, for example, one's AT&T, one's Verizon. It can cellular bond those signals together. That will give you basically a hotspot that will let you stream. You can use this to stream online and stuff like that. Links with more information about that will definitely be in our blog post. But that just circles right back to that. That this will ensure that you're able to go live. This will ensure that you're able to stream to Facebook or YouTube or wherever you want to go. It will ensure that you're actually able to stream. That's the key point of all this. You need to be able to stream. The LiveU Solo could fix that problem. But if you meet the minimum specs, and I do mean the minimum, these are the minimum, you're just fine. Well, everybody, that wraps up today's webinar. I hope you enjoyed. We do get these questions rather frequently. You can always call us and you can ask your questions as well. You can call us at 800-323-2325. And my extension is 1119. You can call me directly and I will answer your question. One of the things that we pride ourselves here at Video Guys is that we are people to talk to. We use this equipment. We know what we're talking about. And if we don't know what we're talking about, we know people who do. We can get you in contact with the right people so you do get the answers that you absolutely need. So don't hesitate to call us. You can also reach out to us on Facebook at videoguys.com, YouTube at videoguys, Instagram at videoguys.com, and Twitter at videoguys. Or you can email us at sales@videoguys.com. We're checking that thing constantly, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed today's show. In the end, this is Adam Noyce, a video production specialist here at Video Guys, saying sayonara.
Video Guys is available Monday through Friday. Give us a call at 1-800-323-2325. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay connected with all of our updates. And you can like us on Facebook. Keep an eye out for our live videos, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.